tonight, then it's sort of a done deal. Secondly, is it appropriate to vote on this tonight at a special meeting versus the regular meeting? Is that legal?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a special meeting, so we are able to vote tonight. I mean, the main concern would be timing of it, because we would have to put it out back to bid if we were doing 2A. It'd have to be a whole new bid package. And what's the time frame for that?
Well, in addition to advertising, the advertising requirements, you need PennDOT approval of the bid scope. So maybe like your October meeting.
Right. So at that point, it'd probably be next year before it gets done, and some of this work does need to get done for sure. So there's that concern, you know, as far as that goes, to your point.
And it is a difficult decision, but I'm supposed to represent, there's a lot of people that are not at this meeting. And hopefully those residents that aren't at the meeting, it will not come down to how many people are on their road. Hopefully, the township is paving roads when it is determined that they are the worst roads and that it needs to be done. So yes, it's not an easy decision, but you know, because there's 6 people on the road, well, that's just too bad. It's time for that road. And I think, yes, there's a lot of roads. I went out, but the road's there. And I trust Tang's decision, and I got to make a decision, but, you know, that's the way it is.
Yep. All right, I'm going to move to vote since we've gone on this for a while now.
Can I ask one more question?
A brief question, yes.
Yeah. You talk about you've been down the roads and 6 people or 2 people. Go down Timbukula Road, and that road's in just as bad shape as that Fairview Road. Go down Timbukula, that's up near Stottsville, and get down there. And you tell me, and you've been down Fairview Road, and believe me, Timbukula Road's in bad shape too. And there's only 6 or 7 people live on that road, and it's a dead end.
But that's not their fault, that there's only 6
No,
people.
that's not their fault, but it's the fault of the supervisors making the decision tonight with a lot of money that other roads need done too. You can do certain roads and use the PennDOT money and get them all done. All of a sudden you come back with the roads I mentioned before, and you can, gentlemen, you had not been in the roads I mentioned tonight, and I'll be glad to take you there. Thank you.
And if I can just make one point, I mean, there's been pieces picked here of what I said. I've sat in the audience for years, and I've heard, you know, different people from that, you know, different roads over here where they were looking for less travel on the road. So in examining Wallace Township with homes, yeah, they're not the scope of King's Ranch, but there are mansions there. So it was one of the ideas coming about. I mean, I tried to introduce this at the last meeting, and so I'm not saying just because a road has just a few homes that it shouldn't be repaired. And obviously, I'm offering a particular repair in what I'm saying. So it's not that I don't care about the residents on Fairview Road. I just want to make that clear. I obviously do. So.
All right, I'll move for a vote. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Lisa, I want this stated in the minutes. Based upon the TAG article's recommendation and also Della Penna's recommendation that this is the worst township in the worst road in the township, I'm voting aye based upon the recommendations.
Motion carries 3-0. Roadmaster here, we were talked in the past, Wilson, about becoming a township roadmaster. I think you may still have some questions regarding it. So you can have the floor for that.
Yeah, I don't want any misconceptions. The reason that I said I would volunteer to serve as the township roadmaster was to prevent the township from having a township manager. Basically, if we budget $100,000 for a township manager, I had said that $100,000, 10 years, that's $1 million. That's $1 million that we can use back toward the roads. But then, I think, what was it, 2 weeks ago, we received, I think Pawnee sent out a job description from another township. And in that job description, the roadmaster, he had a CDL, and Valley Township's roadmaster has a CDL. So, you know, the township, whatever township that was, they specified that the roadmaster have a CDL, that he was able to operate certain equipment. But I just want to remind the board, I don't even have a CDL. I had one, I don't have it anymore. I'm probably not going to get a CDL. I was looking at basically being in an administrative position, so this township does not have to spend $100,000 a year. And that was basically it. Sort of like a liaison. And I was thinking that there would be a liaison for the police department, a liaison for the office, and that was my intention. You know that was it. But you know, I would not want to be a roadmaster, and then I'm out there by myself. You know, I'm just a roadmaster, but there's all these other departments that there's no accountability. We got the police department, we're not evaluating the chief. You know, we have other people, employees here, nobody's being evaluated. So, I don't think we should go another year. If employees aren't going to be evaluated, then we need a township manager. But basically, you know, I said, well, look, instead of spending $100,000, I will volunteer to just be liaison, make sure that there's communication from the road department to the board. If there's some questions residents have, they can see me about it, or, you know, it's just another arm. But I don't want to be that by myself. And I just want to remind the board, yes, there was a job description, but this is the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors can make that job description what they feel is necessary for this township, you know, because I'm probably not going to get a CDL. And that's why I said I don't have to be paid. Don't want to be paid, just the liaison. You know, we got a shop out here. How many weed eaters are in the shop that belong to township residents? How many wrenches? I can go on and on. You know, what's the inventory here? And if that's not going to be accounted for, then I guess, because I'm just trying to explain why I would vote no. I want to be understood. If a vote comes for township manager, I would vote no, but I want to be understood why I'm voting no, because I think we could all be liaisons. But if we're all not going to be liaisons, then there has to be some type of accountability here for everybody, which is going to happen, as you said, you know, through a manager. So it's not something that I have to be appointed for. I think everybody has to understand that we need to look at administrative departments like the police, public works, where we can get away from cutting grass and start doing a lot more road work. And if not, then we're going to have to have some type of administrator that comes in here, because you did mention that you can sometimes see a return on the money if somebody's writing grants, that it kind of pays for itself.
Well, yeah, not just from grants, but yes, that's one aspect of it.
So,
One point, can I just
Go ahead.
stop? Okay, so here's the problem. We do have liaisons to the police department, that's Steve and myself. We have in the past had liaisons to the public works department, to other positions as well. The police contract requires to have a liaison in place, according to contract. What we're trying to do here, and I agree with everything you're saying, there hasn't been employee reviews here in a long, long time. They need to be done. They were done by maybe 7 years ago, but it's been a long time since they've been done here with any current board. But Wilson, the problem we have is that we just formulated a new public works union with the Teamsters, and we have a contract. And what we need to do is, according to the contract, we need to put an administrative person in place for that position representing the township. And that's where we're caught. We need to put someone there. You can be the liaison to the public works department. I don't have a problem with that. But we need by contract to put somebody in place to be the administrative officer of, the administrative person.
and so I get this clear, the administrative person is not tagged?
He's considered union,
He's considered union.
yeah. That was a vote by the PA Labor Board, unless,
I don't, all I know is that union said the only thing I can do is make votes. You can still be the roadmaster. Of course, my title, public works director, but that public works director is the same title as a roadmaster. It's just a different title. And if you bring a supervisor in as a roadmaster, and you can do that in a second-class township, but the union will come back and say that's a working position, that he needs to be in the union.
right.
So, I that's, I like Mr. Wilson, I think we get along good. Him being the liaison, I think would be good. We had Joe before, but Wilson has a little more experience, and I think he'd be a good liaison for us, where I can go back to him and tell him what's going on. That way I won't have to come to these meetings. Like he said, he would have everything in front of him for the meetings. He could do whatever he needs to do.
Yeah, I'm fine with Wilson with that. The problem is referring back to Eric Brown.
Yeah, so generally, there can be a road foreman position, which is a working position. A road master position doesn't have to be a working position. Some townships do have it. That's probably where you saw the job description where it laid out that the road master has the CDL, because that's the person who's actually going out and working on the roads in the middle of the night and that kind of stuff. The road master, though, is a supervisory position and couldn't be in the union. So it's not something that someone in the union, if they wanted to be, could be. That would take them out of the union.
You guys did the same thing in Sadburyville. You negotiated their contract, and they never changed the roadmaster position there.
Yeah, I can't speak to
But I'm just-
Salisbury
I'm
because
just-
it's the same thing.
Exact same thing.
The problem is that, if I understand correctly from Eric Brown, the attorney that handled the negotiations, is that we are setting the tone by not having someone in place or having someone in place, that later on in time, if we didn't put in an authoritative person in place, that it could be held against the township that you never enforced any part of this contract or this section that now there's grievance on. So the township itself, due to the unionization, has to put somebody in place. If we do not, then anything further down the road, the township will always lose an agreement situation.
In my experience as supervisors, every one of the supervisors are roadmasters. Every one of them. There's not a single roadmaster. You guys are the supervisors. You guys override everybody. You guys are the supervisors. I'm just the roadmaster. I just bring everything back to you guys.
Road foreman,
That's all. What's my new title?
whatever it is, but
It's Public Works Director now.
Okay.
And they did that probably, I don't know, 5-6 years ago in North Miami. Because we don't do just road work, we fix lights and mop floors if we have to.
Yeah, we're just tagged, the whole discussion came
I don't
about.
listen, I don't have a problem with him being a roadmaster. I'm just letting you know, that I don't have a problem.
Yeah, and maybe because Wilson's new on the board, the conversation was lost, like, we're not lost, like, if he would like to be the liaison, that's fine. We were trying to address a problem since we just, this union has just been formed, addressing a problem that the township has, is that according to one of the terms in the contract, we don't have somebody in place. So Wilson might not have understood to the level of what that position required, and that's no fault of his own, it's just he wasn't on the board at the time. If you would like to be the liaison and hold it that, I'm fine, but the board still has an overlying problem of not having someone in place, because we have a contract that goes forward, and if there is something, and I'm.
That's right,
so I'm
I
not-
can't.
Yeah, I'm not casting aspersions, but if something is being done wrong, and years down the road it's discovered, and the township never did anything about it, never had anybody in place, or anything like that, the township, as it was explained from my understanding, could lose in any kind of agreements, because we never followed the contract, we never put someone in place, we never did anything. So since this system is new and it's being put in place, we have to abide on our end of what we need in place for the contract. And that was the attempt of the discussion where we began. You know, and that's been our problem, whether we hire a township manager that can fill that role with the road, Public Works Department as well, or one of the board members wants to take on that all the way, you know, Chuck Kilgore at one time had discussed it, you know, so we're at that spot. I have no-
I don't have
yeah.
a problem, believe me,
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain that to you, I don't have a problem with him being the roadmaster. But the thing of it is, just like if you read the specifications for a roadmaster, I mean, that's, you know, I mean, when I was hired, it's all in there.
We just probably need to refer back to Eric Brown, or Mike, you can refer back to Eric Brown and just
Like
put the,
10 years experience as a
Put everything before the
supervisor,
board and
you know,
what-
5 years as a
what's
backup
required.
operator.
And you had two new supervisors on
Yeah,
board.
so-
remember the
and that's exactly right, that's all gonna change.
The duties of
Might be
roadmasters
three.
spelled out by the St. Cloud Township Code is report to the Board of Supervisors, inspect all roads and bridges as directed by the Board of Supervisors, or do or direct to be done all work necessary to carry out the responsibilities imposed by the board with respect to maintenance, repair, and construction of township roads. So there's nothing about 10 years' experience that's required by the St. Cloud Township Code.
In the
Or
handbook,
CDL.
in our handbook.
Well, our handbook's changing.
Like I said, I don't have a problem with it, but I'm just letting you know that if you do this, the union will probably come back and, you know.
that's fine, the union agreed to
It has
this
nothing to
contract.
do with me.
Yeah, I know, but the
It has
union
nothing
has
to do with
agreed
me.
to this contract
It has
with
nothing
the,
to do with it.
with the township, I mean, so they know what, we're responsible for a certain
But like I
part.
said, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with him.
Yeah,
The
well,
thing of it is-
I don't either, as
Am
long
I
as he
still, am I
understands.
still gonna do the same thing that I do, like the 904 performance grant, and is he gonna do it, or am I gonna do it?
Well, that's something that the board, I mean, the real thing it comes down to is the day-to-day operations, as far as pretty much I'm understanding that third part, is to be at the direction of that person, you know, so, and that's the whole thing with the stance that you're in, because you went from a position where you technically, even though the PA Labor Board determined that you were not, from a pot that you were like an administrative person, to a part where you do have the default of saying, hey, you know, if anything should go wrong, hey, I'm union, I'm a laborer, I am not administrative. And that's where the township's caught with that, because you can't ride both sides of the fence, you know, and that's the problem.
Like I said, I don't
Yeah.
have a problem, but the thing of it is I just wanna know, I mean, you got the 904 performance grants and all that, if I'm just gonna be the supervisor, and not the roadmaster, all that stuff, will it come back on the roadmaster? I'm just asking, I don't know, I mean, you guys are starting a whole new game here, I don't know.
I mean, it's a game that came to town for everybody, I mean, so,
I didn't.
so we're just trying to, I mean, we just realized from Eric's conversation with the board is that we need to get someone in place. And that's, the discussion came up with the board, a former supervisor said he would volunteer for it, then he discovered what it entailed, and he realized that it's almost like a full-time job. And that's where the board might have to hire a manager to even operate this. I mean, it might come to finding someone with road experience to take this over, to do this, for us to be on par with the contract. Or we could just let it go and not do anything, and then, you know, forever, the township has the problem of saying you never did anything since the beginning of that contract.
And that's why I said that, you know, I have to make sense, you know, the way I vote. And so when I research it, you know, maybe, because like you said, it's a full-time job.
It's a job.
So maybe it has to be a manager. You know, maybe that's what it has to come down to. I don't know.
That's
But
what
I
the
mean-
discussion, when you volunteer, that's what some of the questions we were trying to
Yeah.
realize what you're getting involved,
Right,
because
and
it's a lot of work.
that's why I wanted to talk through it at the workshop, and that's why I said not an appointment, you know,
Okay.
just something to talk about, and
All right.
I think we've, you know, I've gotten the answer to that.
Okay, so are you still interested, or what do you want to,
Well,
do you want to think on it
not,
some more?
yeah,
Do you want to speak with Eric directly about the scope of it?
no, I don't think I need to do that.
Okay.
Would you like to be the liaison to, want to be, I mean, the liaison is basically just a communicator, it's a messenger. Would you like to do that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
because we don't have anybody in place.
Yeah, well, we can make an appointment of that, so.
Yeah, all right, so at the next meeting, we'll put that down, and then we're back to the task of,
Yeah,
What
what
we're
we're
doing,
doing, and you can get more information and think on it, and see where we
You know,
go.
because actually, the last time we met, like Ed, you had said, you know, maybe we'd come up with something that, like, we want the road crew to do, you know, and then I happened to go over to the park and, you know, belts busted off the tractor. So, you know, even just, I realized then, even coming up with a schedule as to what they're supposed to be doing, it could change from minute to minute, day to day.
It's a
and
full-time,
you can't really tie it in right.
it's a real job, I mean, for what we need to put in place, that's the concern, so I have no problem, so Lisa, would you put on the reports agreements?
Yeah.
I mean, could you put on the agenda for the next meeting for appointment for the road liaison?
Yeah, there's not a motion right now to go over this, we're just discussing it, so.
Could I ask a question?
Yeah, I guess a quick one.
So at that point, with all this being said now, what would tag be like a lead man?
Road
You know,
foreman
because-
is the,
Public Works Director,
Yeah, whatever
her
the-
title is, whatever it is.
But Public Works Director and a roadmaster is the same thing, just a different title. It's all, it's just
all right. The crack and seal purchase and rental, I'll make a motion to approve the Seal Master crack sealing machine rental and purchase of materials for the total cost of $5,210.
I said,
Questions or comments?
Tag, you're just gonna basically, do you have a plan of what roads you're
the
gonna?
Britain Station
Okay,
is probably used most of.
okay.
Because that's Britain Station development. That's one down off West.
Well, I know where it's at. I know where development, yeah. What is?
If you have any leftovers, Tag, would you?
Well, if we do, we'd probably end up going down like, South Bailey Road in that area.
Okay,
You know, eventually I like to car and chip South Bailey, eventually.
Blacktop, not too old.
Yeah, just
South
the
Bay
edge.
Road.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye.
I have a question on,
Oh, I'm sorry.
you made the motion, you know, it's one
I
of
didn't
those
see your hand,
quick
I'm
ones,
sorry.
Well, he just mentioned the road there, you know, he's tiring, and he's talking about Brittany, and that's up on Westchester Road, that's one of the newer developments. I'm still talking about Ed Goldie's developments that are 25 and 30 years old, and they're all cracked up, they need tire and chip. You did Beck Road the other, last year or a year before, yeah, because it looked like it's a lot of tire up there, I'll just say that. But in reference to Brittany Station, the problem with these new roads is just like Goosetown Road where the big dip is. With the contractor come in there and Dick Wilson's there and the sewer line. You talk about a problem, you go speeding down there and see what happens. And you're talking about problems and the safety of people, cars belly out on that road. And TAG has it marked. That's not the township responsibility. That should have been on a warranty contract, and that's where either an engineer or something that didn't follow up, that's some shortly after it was put in. We're talking a big dip. If you want to put a 2x4 across there and measure the distance from that 2x4 down to where the manhole, that's a big dip, all right? So that road's used every day. You can put a thing up there and find it. And you're right. In reference to inventory, I told each supervisor when they come in there to do an inventory with the police department, the road department, and the office. Ask whatever happened to the bikes that we bought when we had Modena. All right, we spent $500 or $600 a bike, and I'm not saying things. Speed check machines got stolen. All right, and we have liability. But each one of you supervisors should have did an inventory with that department head and have a list of what the township owns. That's the reason why the one tractor one time went up state, all right? Thank you.
Newsletter preparation.
Just to let you know, we do have Buddy was saying, I think we did it in 2014, and we do a list of all the tools,
Yeah.
and weed whackers, and we did it, and it is in my office.
Yeah.
So if you wanna look at it, I'm more than ready to, and we can update it if you want. Yeah, sure, it should be updated, I agree.
Right.
But, as far as that, what Buddy was talking about, as far as down at, Goosetown Road, I did call Mr. Jim Kelly, Pennsylvania American Water. I did get a hold of Mr. Kelly, and, like he said, there's only a year that they're actually held to, 1 year after that road is done, that's what he said. But he did say, he said, Tag, if you guys do that road, put a separate, like, bill together, and I'll try to submit it to Pennsylvania American Water and try to get you guys reimbursed. He did say that.
Okay, that's great.
You know, that come from Jim himself, so.
Good luck on that.
I was just told we have to re-motion on that since there were comments after, so I'll make a motion to approve the Seal Master crack sealing machine rental and purchase of materials for a total cost of $5,210.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. All right, the newsletter preparation?
Yep, we want to get out the newsletter, hopefully by the beginning of next month. Does one board member want to take on the review of articles? I mean, who approves?
Can you send it to the entire board?
Yeah,
Just
send it to the
just
entire
PDF.
board.
You're just doing a PDF file? What's your
Of
file?
the articles?
No, you're with the newsletter. What's your, I mean, as far as, do you have a structure of your newsletter together, or you're just?
No,
No,
the
I
articles
send
for the
articles to them,
Right,
they
right, right. I
put
just
that all
figured she
together.
completed a newsletter to send off, so you can see.
Right, she's asking if we want to review the articles before they go to the newsletter to be printed.
I totally understand that. I'm just wondering if she had a completed newsletter completely with the articles in it. So you're just gonna
I've
have the articles?
included all the articles that I have to date, I'm still
Okay.
collecting from the different commissions.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see it. Would you like to see one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in here.
Am I allowed to submit an article? Or, I mean, I didn't know.
I don't see why not.
Because I wanted residents to know that I was out with Tag. Touring these roads, and I wanted people to know that.
Absolutely, if the board would like that,
Yeah.
absolutely, I just didn't know who
Okay.
to ask for different.
Well, then I'll write up a little something.
Okay.
So it's not a campaign one.
All right. The budgeting training class?
PSAP came out with a budgeting class, it's $100. I do have room in the training budget for it, but I figured since it was put on by PSAP, it would probably be extremely applicable to our township as we're in budget season.
Any concern about it being from PSAT or not PSAT? I don't know what.
No, the borough code and the second class township code are roughly equivalent with respect to the budgeting procedures and that kind of stuff.
But we would be considering it still a non-member because we're PSAP?
Are we a member of PSAT?
Oh, no,
I don't think we're a member.
I think we are.
a PSAP?
PSAB or PSAT?
Because that's for boroughs.
I don't know off the top of my head, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought we were on both for some reason.
we were too, because we went to a PSAP class last
Oh, did you have PSAP?
Okay.
Okay. So that's all I know.
Let's just verify that, but I mean, I'm fine with it. Okay.
What does PSAB stand for?
Pennsylvania State Association of Boroughs.
Thank you.
Any new business from the board? Okay, I make the motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.